Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video I'd like to talk about Star Trek, specifically the J.J. Abrams verse of Star Trek, the two newer motion pictures in the franchise that largely in the past I've talked about all of the aspects that I really loved about them and everything like that. And with this particular video I actually want to take a sort of step to the other side of the aisle with that argument that I've heard time and time again that these movies are not traditional or real Star Trek. And there's a sort of point that I'm focusing in on that I've kind of started to begin agreeing with that sentiment, at least in the fact as it pertains to Captain James Tiberius Kirk and his depiction in these new films versus the classic series, as well as the original cast motion pictures and such like that. Going into this, it's something that only loosely occurred to me recently per a conversation over on Facebook I had with a friend on an entirely different topic altogether. That was the sort of downgrading of our society's intelligence through, mass media and news media, and look at all the things, was my point to say, that people consider entertainment, from D-list celebrities in rehab to teen moms on MTV and reality series and all this stuff where people are on drugs or partying, and basically the essence of which amounts to this: stupid looks so frickin' good, doesn't it? It looks beautiful. It looks like I never have to go to school. I can cheat, lie, steal, do drugs my way to the top, and that kind of thing. And I think looking at the Star Trek feature films as directed by J.J. Abrams, we have a Jim Kirk who is a product of this shift in our culture, a negative shift by and large. Because if we compare him to the Kirk of old, and I'm really going to be focusing on the original series, Jim Kirk, as portrayed by William Shatner in that series, was known for his intellect. I mean, through his friend Gary Mitchell, we find that he was a stack of books with legs in Starfleet Academy. When he sort of cheated, when he came up with that alternate answer to the Kobayashi Maru test, he was a very smart strategist. He was a tactician, and he was actually thinking outside the box. So rather than being punished, much as the Kirk in the Abrams verse was, for literally cheating and trying to find a completely way around the system, this Kirk of old was using his intellect, was saying, let's raise the bar here. Let's ask a question that nobody has dared to ask before or since with this particular test, and he was congratulated for it. And, this is what led his rising the ranks so swiftly. Whereas the Kirk in the modern Abrams verse, again, he's completely okay with lying, cheating. There is a very strong lack of a sense of authority, respecting authority and stuff like that. The honorable aspects that you can find in the original James Kirk are not fully there. There are hints of it, to be sure. I'm not going to completely, sell out Chris Pine's portrayal of the character. There are aspects to his portrayal that are absolutely spot on, but a lot of that stuff that I look back to the 60s original series for, the sort of being able to admire the man who Kirk was, and not even talking about what he's most well known for in sort of pop culture, the idea of his being a ladies' man and all that stuff, casting all of that aside, he was known for being intellectual. He was known for being smart. He could bluff his way out of situations. He was a master tactician. He knew, 3 steps ahead of the game, whereas this particular Kirk in this newer incarnation never had any of that. He never had any reason to have any of that. It's pretty bad. Let me put it this way. Where the men you can admire in the Abrams verse films are all but dead. From Captain Robau in the first one, who meets his end at the hands of Nero, to George Kirk, this Kirk's father, basically going out in a blaze of glory to save all of his people. You basically have Spock Prime, who hails from the original verse, which is pretty telling that you have to go back to that to find somebody to admire. And above and beyond, in this new sort of, timeline, the only one who you can really thoroughly admire and find honorable is Christopher Pike, which I think is great because I love the character of Christopher Pike. The little we saw of him in the original series is just, he's a character wrapped in an enigma that they really explore much more fully in novels, Trek novels and stuff like that I absolutely love. But Kirk is the go-to guy. I admired this figure, much as I admired, in my youth, characters like Superman, Lion-O, He-Man, all of these well-principled characters, and we see none of those aspects in this modern Kirk. We see hints here and there, but that's not enough. It's basically telling people who watch these Star Trek films, you can lie, you can cheat, you can do all of this bottom barrel thinking. You never have to actually achieve. You never have to have a sense of personal respect or honor or respect for others, and you can have it all. I mean, let's be honest, it's pretty bad when John Belushi's parody of the character on the classic SNL, was actually more admirable in certain aspects for a little, 5-minute skit than this modern incarnation of Kirk. And it's monotonous to me that this is the point where we've gotten with this particular character. I mean, again, I want to reiterate the fact that I've talked about the aspects of these films that I thoroughly love, but that's with my brain turned off. It's action, it's adventure, it's entertainment from beginning to end. There are emotional elements, but you can have all of those things present without actually thinking about it. You start to think about it, and that's where the problems arise. And I've started thinking about it, and it really peeves me that they've taken a character like James T. Kirk, who I admire. There's none of that with this particular new version of Kirk. And, I mean, we do see him, willing to sacrifice himself, but again, it could be chalked up to a convoluted and really misstepped plot for these films. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Please realize I won't be able to respond because of Google+, and I'm a mobile user only with all things online, but I'd really love to hear your take on the Abrams verse of Star Trek films. Have they killed Star Trek for you? Are they still well worth entertainment value? That kind of thing. A broad range of answers. I'll accept anything. I'd love to hear from you. And otherwise, that'll be pretty much it from me on this. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.